Major League Journeymen, we got a great episode. We got Bruce Arena back on the pod, back in the league. Eh, Maybe not quite, but he's on the doorstep. We're going to chat through some of these things because Gordo's got opinions. One of the most iconic figures in San Jose Earthquake Goonie history. You know, Gordo was on the search committee to bring Bruce in, probably made a few personal phone calls himself. We also got to talk Dax and Messi, MLS 5.0. Dax is rubbing shoulders with Tom Brady on his way out to sip a Gatorade on the field and watch the game. But now we got game two on deck, and we got a lot of fun playoff games, man. This has been already a fun series. Game one in the books of a 3-game series. Lot of good soccer out there. Let's jump in. Major League Journeyman. We got the whole crew back in the house. Gordo, are
Back me.
you planning on signing for the San Jose Earthquakes now that your daddy, Bruce Arena, is going back there? Are you going to go back again to Bruce Arena for another job since we all know you are just airballing everything in the mortgage industry? Target 9, San Jose Quakes, you and Bruce back together again. What do we got?
Bruce, give me a call, buddy. I need a job. I need a job, and I know what your front office looks like, and I'm not scared. I am not scared. Let's just say I've seen what that organization has done since I left.
Uh,
2012 was the last hurrah that these boys had, and I was there. So
you were
let's bring it up.
present.
I was present.
You Club legend Alan Gordon. Did they consult you in the search committee? Were you a part of the search committee?
Listen, no, I was not. I should have been. But let's just start this out. I mean, this has got to be what is a bigger rivalry move? Landon from San Jose to Galaxy,
Uh-huh.
or Bruce from Galaxy to San Jose, or Gordo going back
Or
for the
Gordo going back to back to back.
Wow. Gordo. This is like Figo if he would go from Barca to Real Madrid back to Barca.
it
Like,
is.
what are we doing here? Do
I'm on
rivals
that level.
mean nothing?
Just mending every fence possible. Dax, what do you think? What was your initial reaction when you saw Bruce to San Jose?
I was happy for Bruce, man. I mean, look, let's preface this by saying we don't have any inside info. We're just going off of the reports that everyone else has seen that Bruce is in negotiations with. We don't
I
want to
just,
be
dude,
breaking any false news here. I was happy. I'm happy for Bruce if it gets done, man. We look. We have obviously heard the whispers and the rumors and the innuendo about what all happened in New England, just like everyone else plugged into the game has heard. And when it's hard to know what to believe and what not to believe, but the general, I think, consensus is that I didn't want Bruce to go out like that. And I
hmm
didn't want his legacy to go out with this quote unquote stain over, what he was involved in New England, how bad was it? Like I think that, until all the facts come out, I think that he deserves another chance. And I hope that he gets it with San Jose, get him back to the West Coast. And I think he deserves a shot to turn another club around. Let's not forget that before he got to New England, they were struggling. They had been through some turmoil.
Dude, they
weren't
stunk.
They were bad. And Bruce came in and he took a flailing organization and he set the points record with them. And that's not lost on, I think, everyone in Major League Soccer, how effective Bruce is at turning a franchise around. And we know that. He has a history of it. So I think San Jose, if it does happen, I think they could do a whole lot worse. And I'm very happy for Bruce that he gets another chance to end his career and his wonderful career, probably the greatest coach in American soccer history, on a positive note.
Gordo, being the conspiracy theorist that you are, did they just float this on Twitter to see what the feedback would be of potentially hiring Bruce? Is MLS, are we at that level yet? Because that's where my mind went was, oh, we're gonna be talking about Bruce Arena and the San Jose Earthquakes, but nothing is official. Are they just looking for whether or not they can pull this off? Because we talked about some of the air balls that some of these clubs have just gone through with Sporting and what they did, the hire that they made with Gavin, and then had to retract that, right? Like a week later. Are they just is San Jose just doing this, or are we really in the 11th hour?
I that would be giving them too much credit from my perspective. I don't
Uh-huh.
think that they're smart enough to do that. I think it's a good play if you're going to do that. However, there are, yeah, I don't think I've seen how sophisticated that front office is, firsthand, and I'm not giving them that much credit.
Oh my
Can I,
God.
can
Dude,
I,
do you like anybody? Is there
can I
anybody you
slam their
like?
front? Anybody that threw me in the trash, I'm not going to sit here and back up by any means.
Gordo, life's too short to hold grudges, buddy.
Oh
The
my
soccer
God.
community is
What was
small,
your
okay?
homie's name? John?
Doyle,
Doyle. That was your boy.
dude, Doyle traded me when the trade wasn't even done, and I went on a 2 week sabbatical. Do you remember that story? He, he,
Yes.
he brought me up after the
This
game.
is really good.
Dax, have you heard this? So
I haven't. I'm so
I,
excited.
I'm not having a great year. Whatever. It's like
So par for the
a
course.
standard year for me.
Okay.
It was after my best year, so I wasn't living back up to that. And he's like, "Hey, we play the Red Bulls. I think we played you guys somewhere." And he's like, "Hey, come up to my room after the game." So I go up there. He's like, you know, I just think it's past you. I don't think you have anything left. He literally said those words. He did. He's like, and we've decided to go through with the trade with the Galaxy, and thanks for everything or whatever. And so I go walking out of there. I get home. This is before the flight. I tell all the boys, yeah, I got traded to Galaxy, and I call Rich in the morning. I'm like, hey, so like I haven't heard from you. When's my flight? Like, when do they want me in? He's like, who? I was like, the Galaxy. He's like, he's like, hold on. He's like, what don't I know? He calls Bruce right away, and he calls me back. He's like, you haven't been traded. I was like, what? I was like, no, Doyle told me he traded me yesterday. And they did have a few talks, but Doyle just spilled the beans,
Jump the gun.
and Bruce rescinded whatever he was willing to give for me. So he took back the 20 balls he was going to give for me, and he said, well, nope, you're
I've
not
got
getting
five.
it.
I've got five for you.
And so
The seventh round draft pick in the supplemental draft.
yeah, so I called Rich. I'm like, oh well, I'm not going back to San Jose. They don't want me. So I literally stayed at home for 3 weeks in a row. And San Jose had a bunch of injuries. And Mark Watson like called me one day. He's like, hey, like, you think you can play this weekend? And I was like, Mark, I'm not going back, dude. And I called
Mark,
Rich.
I'm 13 beers deep. Like, what do you want?
So I go back to play. Guess who we played? We played the Galaxy. We played the Galaxy. Yes, we played the Galaxy.
So wait, you
And
did go back?
I went back and I played, and it was like a big laugh. I was laughing with like Todd Donovan and all the guys over there. I was like, I thought I was with you guys, but now I'm playing against you. And a week later, Bruce went back and he picked me up. That was 2014, and then we won the
Dude, that's
championship.
that's funny. Bruce is talking to me like afterwards, during this whole thing, right? Like after practices as we're walking out, he's like, "Hey, hey, Garx, can Gordo still do anything other than play 5v2 or what? Is he got it?"
According to John Doyle, no, he doesn't.
Yeah, I was like,
By
"Nah,
the
man, he's lost it. He is gone, dude.
by
He's
the way,
got nothing."
massive respect to that guy for just being like, hey, Gordo, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not gonna beat around the bush. I just think you stink.
You stink.
And
Great if
you've
he
lost it.
traded, if he actually the trade went through, that would have
I
been
tell
great.
you what, that was a beautiful time in MLS where
That
you
was
just
that was
got transparency from
right.
people, the transparency that we all so desire.
Oh God. Well, for the record, I think that this would be a massive coup for the San Jose Earthquakes if they were
It
able to
would be.
get Bruce because of some of the things that you both have said, but very pointedly, Dax, Bruce is a master at building.
Yeah.
And in San Jose needs that in spades. They've had good people walk through that building, but for whatever reason, they have not been able to put anything consistent together, and that's what Bruce does, and he's done it realistically everywhere he's been. So if you are you able to finish Bruce's career as a San Jose Earthquake, that would be pretty impactful. We are talking about two individuals, or a club and an individual, that are not in the playoffs. Dax, you are in the playoffs, albeit up against a pretty significant opponent.
Who?
I
Who?
wa- I wanted I wanted to just get your perspective on the show that is Miami that you were just a part of. Like, what try your hardest, because I know you play them on Saturday, but try your hardest to take yourself as the competitor on the field out of it, and give me a viewpoint of what you witnessed for playoffs round one MLS in Miami against Messi, Busquets, Suarez, Alba. Like, just give me the perspective of walking through that tunnel. You know, you were just talking about a time in MLS that we were all a part of. You're now in MLS in a time that is different, that Gordo and I were not a part of. Is it look and feel as markedly different as I'm imagining, or is it just another soccer game?
Well, it does. It does. It does feel different. And I'd be
Yeah.
lying if I said it didn't. I mean, you have to, before I go into this, can we all just take a minute to step back here and think about the pods that we had recorded, no less than a month ago, where, you know, I'm I'm talking about all these other teams and these favorites in the East, and we're going through our process with Atlanta, and like, we're holding on to hope, but the percentage chance of us making the playoffs is getting lower and lower with each passing result until finally the last game of the season. I mean, we're at like a 3 or 4% chance to make it with numerous other results going our way. And like, you never lose faith, but you kind of have to be crazy to think that everything is going to fall into place for you. And
Hmm.
I'm thinking, all right, I'm talking about Miami and Columbus and the favorites and Cincy, and not really talking about Atlanta in any meaningful way that, we're going to be able to make some noise in the postseason, because quite frankly, I don't know if we'll be there. Not only do we make it on the last day with some of the craziest results that have happened, I think, on decision day, which Gordo talked about how great decision day was, and I kind of poo-pooed that idea with the fact
Hmm.
that it was that meaningful, but it
You've
ended up
been wrong all along, by
a
the way.
lot. So it ended up being incredibly meaningful for our team, which was great. What a feeling. And I just want to tell you guys quickly before I go into the Miami stuff, like when I went on the field against Orlando City, not one person on our entire staff, coaching staff and like supplemental staff on the sideline, training staff, nothing. When I got subbed into the game, there were probably 15 minutes left. I didn't know what the other results of the other games were. I didn't know if we were in, if we were out. So if you guys might not remember this because we haven't talked in a week or two, or I haven't been on with you guys because of all the travel. But
Hmm.
when I went onto the field, we were in the playoffs. It was 2-1. Orlando scored in the 90th minute.
Hmm.
And I didn't know. I didn't know if this was going to mean anything or not mean anything. We had to win. So I knew we had to win. So that sucked. But when they chalked it off with VAR because of a handball and Duncan McGuire, we were back up 2-1. I'm just sitting there like running around like a chicken with my head cut off, thinking like, are we in or are we not? Like nobody knows. So when
Hmm.
the whistle blew, I looked at the sideline, everyone was going nuts, and I was like, no shot, we actually just made the playoffs. Like that was a really cool feeling, and one that I have really never been a part of. I've never been a part of a decision day like that because I've either been in the playoffs, no questions asked, or like Gordo in Chicago, we knew we weren't in. So that
Yeah.
was really cool, man. That was a good moment, and that was a really cool, I think, way to kind of button up my regular season in MLS because I had 50 friends and family there. I was wearing
Uh-huh.
special cleats from Adidas that they sent me with the boys' names on them, thinking this most likely will be my last game I ever play in, right? And just to like have all of that happen and then be like, well, shit, that wasn't my last game ever. That's incredible. And then
Are
you
you
go to
wearing those boots?
not wearing them right now. No, they're special. I'm in
I thought
sandals.
you would have never taken them off, to be
I'm in
honest.
I'm in sandals right now. And then like just to go to Montreal and think, all right, we're playing with house money, right? We go up 2-0, win in penalties. And I was talking about this with Gordo a little bit. And could you imagine like me, I took the first penalty against Montreal and I scored. Could you imagine if we would have lost that game and I would have missed my penalty and that would have been my last action that ever occurred in MLS? That would have
Oh,
really sucked ass.
Dax, Dax. I am sitting in my living room with my boys
Yeah.
and we're watching, and I can't believe that you guys tied. I thought you guys won. I text Gargs,
Yeah.
he's on the field, and I'm like, bro, they're in. And he's
Yeah.
like, I'm rushing home. I'm gonna
Penalty,
watch
last
this. And
minute.
I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, that it was like 10 minutes later. I was like, get home for penalties right now. And then I see you walk up, and my mind goes, oh shit.
Dude, I was
I go,
nervous for you, Dax. I
I
was
was
like,
so
oh my
nervous,
God.
and I go, this
I
could be
know,
the
dude.
last kick ever. And I go, don't think that. Don't think that. No, no
Yeah.
bad juju. I'm like,
Know your
just
boy.
bury it,
Know your
Max.
boy.
Just bury it. And you did. And it was
Yeah, man.
awesome
That,
to see.
that was, I was, the thought never crossed my mind in the moment.
Good,
In the moment,
good.
I was like, boom. Because Rob, he just chooses the shooters. And I went first twice in Leagues Cup and I scored. And I'm like, look, if he picks me to shoot, I'm going to shoot and I'm going to score. And he picked me to go first. And I'm thinking, awesome. So then
Oh yeah.
Joseph up. Joseph versus Brad. Like,
Love it.
moment,
So
right?
sick.
And Joseph already had scored to tie the game up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this guy, dude, this guy is such a killer, bro. He just steps up there. Him and Brad had this little like
Yeah.
peacock rivalry going on there.
What was going on there? That
I
was
don't know,
awesome.
bro. There was a lot of shit talking back and forth, and it was a lot of chest bumping and a lot of, Brad, he's like, like Neanderthal movements. But it was great. And Joseph just
Uh
buries his penalty, top
yeah.
corner.
Yeah.
Zero, like super chill. And I'm
Yep.
thinking, I'm gonna stroll up there. I'm like, don't mess this up, you jerk off. Like this cannot be your last play ever, right? So thankfully it went in. I buried it, and we advanced, and then we get Miami, which brings it to your original question. Apologies. And I'm just thinking in my head, this is so ironic that I was talking a lot about Miami and how I think they're vulnerable in the playoffs because of how they play. And now we're playing against them on 2 days
Dax,
rest.
dude, Dax's favorite thing to talk about was how easy it is. Just track Messi. Like, I just
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
understand. Just track
Uh,
him. Like, why can't these guys just track him?
so I hadn't started a game. I hadn't started a game, Gargs, in 2 months, and we had unfortunately one of our players that had been brilliant. He came into the team, Ronald Hernandez. He was playing fullback. We pushed Brooks Lennon up. He got sick the night before the game. He had food poisoning or something. And so Rob
Mm.
comes to the day of the game. He's like, "Look, I'm putting you in, and we're gonna play like this and try to stay in a four." And I'm thinking, "Let's do it. Great, awesome."
Yeah.
So like, dude, like all I can say is like the pageantry, it's like off the charts. It would be what I would compare it to like a really big Knicks game or a really big Lakers game. You
Mm-hmm.
have and Miami has the field level suites, right? And so they've
Mm-hmm.
got just a who's who of celebrities that are going to the games mainly to see Messi, but also, because it's a show. And that's what
Yeah.
MLS is. They're trying to put on a show while Messi is here. And to be honest, that team, we've all three acknowledged the attacking prowess and firepower that they have. It is borderline unstoppable. And we witnessed that in our game. They created chances at will. And it's not just as simple as, hey, Jordi Alba's going to get the ball and cut it back to Messi at the top of the box and just stop it. Because guess what? I knew that. And I was playing in the midfield, and it is so difficult to stop because they can come at you from so many different ways. So yes, easier said than done. Brad stood on his head. We were heavy legged, we were fatigued. We did it to ourselves, right? Being in the play-in game. But like you go into halftime 1-1, and I'm thinking we have a real chance here because I thought we were defending okay. They were still creating some chances, right? That like they always do. We weren't sharp enough in the attack. So I think if you're talking about little adjustments for game two, we need to be better in the attack because there are moments in transition. I still stand firm. You will have moments in transition to hit them, and you will have moments in possession because Messi and Suarez, they're not really going to work their hardest to defend. And we saw that. We just didn't take advantage of it enough. When we
Mm-hmm.
did, scored a goal. So look, man, it's kind of we're playing with house money. I'm thinking I'm playing with house money at the end of my career. I didn't think we
Mm-hmm.
would have these games coming up. Our team playing with house money. Nobody thinks we're going to win. The dinosaurs, most of all, who didn't give us a chance against Montreal. And then
Nope.
look, we're excited, dude. Like I'm excited that we get another opportunity. 70,000 people at the Benz. Like, what a great way to go get a game free.
Dude, the Benz is an awesome place to play when it's packed. And then obviously against Messi in the playoffs, it's going to be packed. Do you think it's going to be full of Messi supporters or Atlanta United? Like where are we going to be at? Where's the split?
I think it'll be like 75-25. I
Okay.
do. That's kind of what it
Atlanta?
felt like. Yeah, Atlanta. That's kind
Yeah.
of what it felt like when we played them a few weeks ago at home at the Benz when it was 2-2. It did feel like we had a ton of support there. And the last 20 minutes of that game was totally unhinged. And I think it was
Uh-huh. I
the
think the
excitement.
first 96 minutes of this game is going to be totally unhinged.
I do. It's gonna have the feel of a massive game because for everything good that Miami does, their stadium, let's call a spade a spade. It's not their permanent stadium. It's like an
No, it
erector.
stinks. It
It stinks.
stinks. It
So,
doesn't
so
give it
it is
justice of
not.
what the
It's
show
not. It's
is.
not. It's not befitting of what the show is and who the characters that they have are. And so when you get them in a 70,000 seat arena, right, in a big game, it will feel real. It will feel like one of those massive games that these guys. Look, we've played in with Atlanta, but these guys have played in all throughout their career, right? So turf, will he start? Will he not start? Will Suarez start?
100%.
You
100%.
don't know.
They're all
I
going to
think they
start.
will. I think they should, and they will. And that makes it even more fun, man, because look, why not? Look, if you're going to win a championship, you have to beat the best teams. And so why not start in the first round?
There you go. There you go.
Why not?
Gordo, you, I know you caught a lot of these games. What was the most surprising result to you in the opening games of round one? It's most surprising
We,
result.
I mean, are we still talking about the playing games? Because Portland got smashed.
I picked them. I picked Vancouver to smash
You picked
Portland in Portland.
Vancouver.
You did
Yeah,
pick.
I mean, but
Oh,
that
Yeah, you
that's
can add that in. Was that the most surprising result for you?
yes, dude.
It was.
1,000%. We talked at length about how Portland's going to have the upper hand and somebody should be fired, and that guy should get a
Someone should be
promotion
fired.
now. That guy should get a promotion now, and he's probably still got his job. But dude, they came in and Portland looked terrible.
They
They
looked
looked
awful.
terrible, and
They looked exactly like what you and I have talked about all season long, as in, why are we even talking about Portland? They stink.
that's a good point. That's a good point. We did say that, and then the next game, they came out and
And
smashed and made us look
they'd score
bad.
6 goals.
But this is yeah, this is their true colors, and I watched the majority of that game, man. It was really sad to see. I mean, it was really really sad to see, and that's a game. You hate to say it, but that is a game that is a fireable offense on somebody that has got some control there. Not saying who, but as a
Well, there's a
coach,
lot of there's a lot of smoke and fire around that right now,
and
around that organization. Man,
well, and
they can't get away from it. This is not like a new thing. The Portland
well, they
Timbers are
they
now
started it. They started it, and the Timbers fans are the ones that started it when they chime in and try to get a guy fired before he's even hired or
But
step
I
foot on
mean,
the
go
field.
go back further. Like, there's been a lot of fire, a lot of smoke around that organization with the Thorns and with the way that Paulson just is involved, and it does seem like it's a, which is crazy. It does seem like it's somewhat of like a volatile organization now.
Right. And I will say this. I did just say, the game itself, when those things happen, usually somebody gets fired. It's usually the coach. And
Hmm.
but and when players come out and they say the things that Evander says, and all
Hmm.
these guys come and say, and they point the finger at the front office, that's atrocious. That
Yeah.
is atrocious. And those players should be ashamed of themselves. They won't. Something should happen to those players because I don't care, dude. They're these guys. It seems broken when stuff like that happens and players come out and they speak up against the front office. It seems something is broken. So the locker room is broken. There's no solidarity. There's
Where's the accountability?
where's the accountability on you, bro?
That's my
Hmm.
point.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm backing you up. It's it's
Well,
it's atrocious.
look, for me, the worst part about it is that this all stems from, in my opinion, what Tom Bogert kind of reported on a little bit, which is a contract dispute. And you cannot equate getting hammered 5-0 at home in front of your own fans when you shouldn't have even been hosting the game. Should have been
Hmm.
in Vancouver. You squeak into the playoffs kind of like we do. Shouldn't have even been hosting the game, but you get a stroke of luck and you're hosting the game in front of your fans and you lay an egg. You play terribly and you lay an absolute stinker. You get smashed 5-0. That, for me, is completely unacceptable to then go and air your dirty laundry out with the front office with your contract dispute and for everyone to see because of that result.
Dude,
Your
they
contract
got walked off the park too. I don't
your
know if you guys
contract
watched
dispute
that
has
game.
nothing
They
to
got
do.
embarrassed.
By the way, Evander, you deserve every bit of money that you're asking for because that's how good you are and that's how well you've played this year. But don't equate that result with your contract dispute with the front office because it's apples and oranges. So for
Yeah.
me, I agree with Gordo. It's ridiculous. And so that it speaks to me to a little bit of a lack of accountability, a little bit of a broken culture, which I think, look, with Portland, that's kind of how they
Okay,
were.
well, hold on, Dax. Like, you can't say that because how
So
how do you mend this fence? Somebody has to go.
I can't. I mean, I don't think anyone's going.
You think that Ned, Phil, and Evander are all gonna kumbaya and be in a
I
good
don't. I,
place?
I don't. I don't know for sure. But if you ask me right now, what I think will happen 3 4 months from now, I think all three of them will still be there. I still think Evander will be there. I think they'll get a new contract done. I think Phil. He said in his press conference that Evander is like a son to him. So if he gets his new contract, he said that. Phil said that.
He
So
also
if he
said that God was a Timbers fan too.
That's very true. And Vanny Sartini with the quote of the year, by the way, saying God doesn't exist. I'm just saying, if Evander gets his new contract, okay, guess what? If you're Ned, what are you going to do? You're going to say, look, are we agreeing to a deal or not? If we don't agree to a deal, we'll sell you. If you want this deal, I can let bygones be bygones and we'll just move on. You're going to want to keep your best player. So,
I
yes,
disagree.
I fully expect all three of them to be there. That would be my guess.
Then I fully expect there to be smoke and fire continually around that organization for the foreseeable future. If they're all there and all of these things are still true, they're not going to have
Contract
success.
contract disputes happen in sports all the time,
Yeah,
and
but you don't come out and
I
call
know,
people liars.
Ned, or
Ned,
Dax, dead. Okay, you are the GM. You're
yeah,
net. You're net of the Timbers.
sure.
And your best player, if that's what you want to call him, it goes out and says that to
No,
you.
he is your best player.
Okay, whatever. You're gonna give him a contract?
I'm gonna tell him, hey, what you did was ridiculous. I'm not happy about it. If you want to get a deal done, let's negotiate. Let's talk like grown-ups, an adult, not through the media. I'll forgive you because I want to keep my best players, and we're trying to agree
Don't
to a
you
new
think you can
deal.
take the money you sell him with and go get somebody else that's more bought into your club?
Maybe.
He's not messy, bro. That's what I'm
Bro,
saying.
did you watch? I know you didn't watch a lot of Portland this year, but he had top three goal contributions in MLS this year.
Yeah, he's a good
I,
player.
he's a
I
good
don't get me
player.
wrong, he's a good player, but like, what
There's
is?
other good players.
Yeah, there's plenty of good players, and when you
Well,
when you
here's the
come out
thing.
and do that,
Here's the thing. You guys know this as well as I do. It's very easy to sit there and say, I'll go sell this guy for $10 million dollars and then replace him with a $10 million player. It's easy to say that. It's not easy to
uh,
execute that.
I'm not
Okay.
saying it's
So
easy.
Evander is a proven commodity in MLS. He is a proven 15 goals, 20 assists guy, which is very, very difficult to come by. Okay. And let's be honest. He's making what?
doesn't Portland have three of them?
They have three guys who scored 14 goals, but not the assists.
Okay.
My point is this. It's very difficult to replace these guys. You can scout all you want. Look at I think Seattle is the perfect example. We talked about De La Vega. They just went and spent $6 7 million on this guy.
Hmm.
It has been an abject failure,
Dude, he
right?
stunk. He stunk the
So
other night. Did
my
you watch
point
that
is
game?
throwing money at a player and throwing money to say you're going to replace a player, it does not always work out. You guys know this as well as I do. So if I'm in Ned's position, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm pissed off about everything that he said, for sure. But if the fence can be mended and if he wants to stay and agree to a new contract, that's fair market value. Yeah, I mean, I'm letting it slide and I'm trying to bring him back. I mean, you
But
guys,
what message are you sending to the organization, your players,
sure,
everybody else? You listen. It's got to
that's the
be.
tightrope you have to walk.
Well, it is, and I'm saying you don't want to fall on the wrong side because
Hmm.
just because it sounds like a scared move and it looks like a scared move. Like, hey, by the way, Evander, we barely got into the playoffs with you.
Sure.
So what's the like? I'd rather here's the deal for me. is if I'm the captain of the ship and I'm Ned, I'm going to go down with guys that have my back, that are the crew on the ship. I don't want somebody who's dead weight and doesn't believe in the direction that I'm steering the ship. And for that reason only, and I know it's tough, and I
I
agree with
agree
you
100%.
100%. I would be like, walk the plank, buddy. You go get eaten by sharks, and we're gonna go on. We're gonna go this way, and whoever wants to get on, everybody get off.
Here's what
Everybody
I
get
would
off.
say.
Like if you don't
Gordo,
believe.
here's what I would say, because your point is valid. You want guys that are bought in. I agree 100%. You have to have, and so the emotion of a game and the emotion of a season, right? I think that with players in general, some guys are hotheads. Some guys say things in the heat of the moment that later on they will regret. And I think Evander will probably regret saying what he said. But if you're Ned, it is, I think, incumbent upon you as a GM who is trying to build a winning roster to go to your best player and say, what you said was wrong. I don't think you should have said that. It's ridiculous that you went out and aired this all out in public, especially after getting embarrassed on our home field.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are willing to move on, and if you're willing to agree to a new contract that we can both agree is fair market value, I am willing to give you another chance. If not, if you want to leave because the bridge is burned, I will try to sell you. But then you're looking at a distressed asset. What if people know Evander wants out and the Timbers think he's worth $10 million? Well, if you're a team, a competitor, hey, guess what, Portland? I got $5 million for you. What if you don't get fair market value? Then what do you do? Well, you have to bring him back. You can't sell him for pennies on the dollar. So this is why I say I think it's incumbent upon Ned and the front office to try to see if the fence can be mended. And if it can't, well, then you have to do what you have to do. But that's why I would say he's a proven commodity in MLS. He's a Lucho Acosta. Like, you have to try to build around him if you can. But again,
Sell him to the Eastern Conference. See you later, bub. I think that's a tough. I think that's a very mature position, Dax. I just based on those comments, I think that bridge is burnt
maybe.
on toast, on dark toast.
Well, the
All right,
surprising
so
result for me is
is
my best friend, Wilfred Nancy, and his Columbus Crew.
coach of the year.
I never said that. I never said that.
Yeah, I know, because you took my answer.
You keep bringing this up. I think Wilfred Nancy is the best coach in MLS. Tata Martino is the coach of the year. There's a difference there. If you can't distinguish the difference, then I can't help you. You're a bad person.
Well, thank you for clarifying for me.
But Columbus laid an egg. And let me just I can sum this up pretty quickly. Red Bull
challenge.
They played the exact way that they're comfortable playing. Don't want the ball, set pieces, hit on the break. Columbus had 74% possession or something insane like that. And guess what? Cucho, while I do think he was the MVP up until Messi scored a hat trick on the last day here in 15 minutes, which I never got to say, by the way. Messi won the MVP because of that. But Cucho's been one of the best players in the league all year. I think he's been one of the best players in the league all year because he's had a running mate in Diego Rossi, who was so important to what Columbus
Who wasn't
does.
on the field.
Diego Rossi was so vital to everything Columbus did. I didn't realize how important he was until I saw that Red Bull game because they were toothless. Without Diego Rossi trying to stretch the back line, running in behind, creating things, Columbus, they need him badly. And so if he's back, I do think Columbus takes this to a game 3, but Diego Rossi is extremely important to what Columbus is going to have to do in game 2.
So that's a pretty big statement. You're telling me that the best team in the history of the league, in the universe, the Columbus Crew, with the best coach and the best player that you've ever seen in your entire life, hinges on Diego Rossi's availability? That's what you're telling me? To beat a very, 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 very pedestrian New York Red Bulls? That's what you're saying?
Are you exaggerating for clicks right now?
I am. Just for clarity's sake here.
I would say that a well-oiled machine without a key part sometimes turns into a not so well-oiled machine. And I am on record as still thinking that Wilfred Nancy is the best coach in the league. I don't think I'm saying anything crazy in that statement. I don't
think you are either.
I think you can have a stinker every now and then. I think Cucho didn't play well. I didn't think he was at his sharpest, but you would like to believe that losing one of your better players would affect a team. And I didn't realize how important Diego Rossi was to this team until now. So I think that's a pretty a pretty fair way to put like, hey,
Does
Columbus.
that does that further Tata Martino's case as the best coach in the league because he lost Messi for the amount of time that he did and they just kept on rolling, or no?
I
That
think
that
Tata
doesn't
is
count.
the MLS coach of the year. I don't think he's the best coach in the league because that would be Wilfred Nancy. But look, I've said before that you're allowed to have a stinker every now and then. Miami
Okay.
lost Columbus 5-0, I think. So,
Okay, so I just want to hear this out of you.
sure.
If Diego Rossi's not on the field, you think Red Bull takes this series?
No. Still going to take Columbus, but I think that it significantly lowers Columbus's ceiling. I don't think Columbus is coming out of the East if Diego Rossi's not on the field.
Okay. Okay. Gordo,
Wow.
what was your do you have a favorite outside of Miami after having seen one game of round one? And we got a long way to go. These are 3 game series, which also we haven't talked about this. It's a lot of fun. Like seeing the amount of just animosity and anger that comes out in the playoffs and to know that these groups are going to play again, hopefully 2 more times. Like by the time you get to game 3, holy shit. There
Agreed.
is going to be some fireworks in these games. Did anybody stand out to you as like, oh wow, this might be the team?
Oh, Galaxy.
I
Yeah.
knew
Galaxy
he was
came.
going to say that. I knew he was going to say that.
Uh-huh.
Galaxy. Hey, there's one thing there's one thing that stood out to me, and I gotta say it because LAFC absolutely ripped the hearts out of every Galaxy fan and player at the whistle,
Mm-hmm.
on decision day. And
Mm-hmm.
there's one thing that was clear to me after watching LAFC and watching the Galaxy, different opponents, both at home. I know for a fact that Galaxy is better than LAFC. I know that for a fact. They looked about 10 times better than LAFC did. I think LAFC is not even close to the team that they used to be. I think they rely solely on Bawanga,
Mm-hmm.
who is I mean he has
Phenomenal.
to score. He's phenomenal. I don't think Giroud
He's
has
underwhelmed for sure.
he's underwhelming and they're not using him properly. They don't have the players around him. He's not getting the service that he needs because Bawanga is going to take it and he's going to shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an option that's gone, but it's a good option. But there's nothing.
He's an option.
There's no other thought. It doesn't look like there's any other thought between besides, hey, let's just defend, get the ball to Bawanga, and let him
Yep.
go at people. And the Galaxy are they have a system, they have a plan. The only thing that they're they look really good. They look like a well-oiled machine run by Ricky Puig, who's on the ball and he's driving. They're bringing in Royce at the 60th minute. Who
Mm-hmm.
Does that
listen?
surprise you, Gordo?
Um, I
Do you think that's a good tactical wrinkle from
I
Vanny?
think it's a great tactical
Bringing in
move.
Royce late,
I think it's great. They got their legs.
phenomenal. I loved
Yeah,
it.
Do
they
you
got
think
their.
he's happy about it?
I think he's fine
Uh,
with it.
he looks fine, and so he waits. He lets the. I mean, it's a great because what do they need? They need legs. They need legs to get back in transition. That's where they're vulnerable. So they get Diego. Wait, what's his name?
Mark
Uh,
Delgado.
Delgado.
Delgado, who leads the league in miles run, and he's everywhere. Plus, I mean, is that if that's even a thing? But yeah,
They
I
don't
think it
track
is
that
a thing,
anymore.
but I think you just came out up with that out of your ass.
they they look fantastic. So listen, I think that I think the Galaxy and Miami, as much as we want to say and look at it on paper, and to Dax's point, dude, when you get on the field, it's very different than everything else that we're talking about. When you get on the field, these two teams they're playing really, really, really good soccer.
Hmm. The league would
Uh,
lose their minds if it was Miami Galaxy final.
Oh,
Oh,
They'd
God.
lose their
are you kidding me?
minds.
Oh,
Hey, I just want to make a quick point about the West. Obviously, I wasn't able to jump on the episode where you guys were picking playoff winners, and I think that's probably for the best. But one thing I had in my head when I was listening to the pod back was that if I could have, I would have said that my dark horse from the West was Houston.
Uh-huh.
And I really liked Houston to go in and make some noise.
Do
And
you still
maybe
feel the same way?
so here's the problem. I did watch a little bit of the Houston Seattle game, and I think Houston's the better team. I just do. I think
I
they are the
agree.
better
I
team.
agree with you.
But in the playoffs, if you have a moment where one of your best players makes a really, really boneheaded decision, it can reverberate throughout the rest of the series. And what Karaskia did with putting his hands to the face of multiple players and getting sent off is one of the more boneheaded plays I've ever seen in playoff history
Did
because
we,
because
Dex,
of
did you see what I was watching that too, and I they couldn't show the
he
actual
did.
incident that led to the scuffle. Like what actually happened?
I don't actually know what led to the scuffle. It was like an off the ball play where I think a
Yeah,
guy was trying to make a run forward and someone kind of tripped him or tackled him, and then there was a scuffle. I think that's
right.
what, but that's innocuous. That happens every now and then, and you just move on. We know how soccer players are. I'm gonna peacock you, you're gonna peacock me, get in my face, push me in the chest. Don't touch my face because now with VAR, you know you're walking a very, very fine line. And Kvaratskhelia, who I think is one of the best midfielders in MLS, and I don't just say that willy-nilly. I think he's been fantastic. He's so important to what Houston does, him and Griffin Dorsey down the right. Him getting sent off and then them in turn losing in penalties. It's just such a double whammy because of how important I think he is. And you're getting Hector Herrera back. I thought Houston could really make some noise in the West. And now I don't think they're going to get past Seattle. I think Seattle goes into Houston, and I think Seattle is going to do what they always do. They defend well, and I think they're going to grind out a result.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on in your assessment of Houston, but man, I watched that and I was so disappointed in Karaskia, and I could only imagine the the bubbles of anger, pure anger that were reverberating in Ben Olsen as he was watching that happen because that's a result. That's a result in a really difficult place to play in Seattle against a team that was there for the taking.
It was. That was
And
my thinking. Yeah.
and then you go back to Houston with up one. And now he's going to have to find a way to win in Seattle. And
Yeah.
that is not an easy thing to do. And I don't care who you are. And now you got to win in Houston without I would characterize him as their best player. I love Herrera, but I think Carrasquillo is the
So
stir
important.
that he's the
Yeah.
straw that stirs the drink. The the only other one that I caught that I thought, okay, maybe there is something here again, is the Cincinnati New York game. I watched Cincinnati play and I was pleasantly surprised from Yamil Assad. I thought that Yamil Assad was so dangerous and I
Five
was
stripes legend.
dude, I was somewhat shocked that he was as dynamic as he was. And Lucho Acosta, fantastic. He's dangerous. Any spot he pops up on the field. But I think that Cincinnati maybe has a little bit more juice than I had originally thought after having watched them play one game. Now, maybe they just might be better than New York. That could be true too. But they did stand out for me a little bit, maybe more so than I did. Dude, what is his name? Ariano.
So good. The lefty.
He's
Oh,
unbelievable,
he's
man.
good. He is
Dude,
good.
he is fantastic.
Listening to you guys fumble over his name for 4 minutes in the last pod was very difficult for
So
me.
good. So
But
good.
I'm glad you gave me a shout out because I would have known his name right away. So thank you. You
Where
guys
is
know.
Dax when we need
Yeah.
him?
'Cause the
Uh,
cool thing about him is that you can literally put him anywhere on the field in an
he's
attacking.
played everywhere.
He'll be great. Wing
He's
back,
played everywhere.
attacking midfielder, striker. Like you can put him anywhere. He's
Dude,
fantastic.
he's a killer. He is a killer. They'll sell him for a lot of money. Game two on deck. Dax, you got the toughest assignment. I sincerely hope that you're on the field for that experience. And I hope that you send it to game three because that will
Playing,
be
playing with house money.
fantastic.
Playing
Playing
with
with house
house money.
money.
I'm enjoying
Yeah.
it. And listen, I think when you expect your career to end on a certain day and you get
And it
presented
doesn't.
the opportunity to keep going, you're just more gleeful. You know, I'm jolly. I'm feeling good these days. So we'll see what happens, man. I'm not. I think you have to enjoy these occasions because they don't come around often. And what a better occasion than Miami?
Dude, a lot of extra sugar on top of those frosted flakes. So enjoy it. Major League Journeyman, we'll see you out there.